You're listening to Trek FM.
Welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's 50th anniversary Star Trek rewatch. We're going through each and every Star Trek adventure, all 729 of them, in celebration of Star Trek's 50th anniversary. Today, we're talking about 2 episodes of Star Trek, one from Deep Space Nine, one from The Next Generation. I'm Zach Moore, and I'm joined by, from Moon and Warp, Sue. What's up, Sue?
Hey, not much. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk about The Wire. That's a great show, isn't it? You know?
Not the show, the episode.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So which came first, though, right? Didn't this one come first?
That I do not know.
See, let us know in the Babel conference, guys. But, so The Wire, right? In this episode, Dr. Bashir tries to help when Garak suffers painful headaches from an implant in his brain. So, Sue, what did you think of The Wire, the episode, not the show?
I think that this is a fantastic Garak episode. He's the sort of mysterious character. We really don't know that much about him, and that continues. Every time he retells the story of how he got this implant, it's different, and we're not sure if it's the truth. And then some of, the best writing for a character, I think, is at the very end of this episode, where when Bashir asks him if any of it's true, even the lies, and the answer is especially the lies. I mean, it perfectly encapsulates the character of Garak.
Yeah, this is like the Garak episode, right? I mean, up till now, he'd been an interesting character, had a few guest spots, and everybody loved Garak from the jump. He was instantly a compelling character. Andrew J. Robinson is such a great actor, he makes so much out of so little. Because when you go back and you think about Deep Space Nine, you think, oh yeah, Garak was there all the time. They talk about this on The Orb all the time, Chris Jones and Matt Rushing. But you look back at Deep Space Nine, and Garak's really only in about, 35 episodes or something like that out of 176. But he has such a powerful presence that you think he's there all the time, and that's a big credit to Andrew J. Robinson and, of course, the writers who write Garak a certain way. And they really have fun with the fact that no one's really sure what he's all about. Is he a tailor? Is he a spy? Is he an exiled spy? All that stuff. And this is really, even though we get a lot of lies along the way, this is our first glimpse in the true backstory of Garak. And we meet Enabran Tain, who goes on to be a big character in Deep Space Nine as well.
Yeah, I think we also get some insight into Garak's life on the station. Because I would like to believe that what he's saying about why he's using this implant, why he's using this painkiller, is true. That he is living on the station where the majority of people look at him with disdain every day. And instead of using it for physical pain, which seems to be the implication of why it was created, he's using it to dull this sort of emotional pain that he has living so close to Bajor, where he and the Obsidian Order did so much harm for so long.
You're right. When he's talking about how the lights are too bright and it's too cold and all this stuff you don't think about because he has such a calm and pleasant exterior, but it's really dark to think internally he's depressed and upset and just really hates where his life has become. I mean, he has a good sense of humor about it most of the time, at least as far as we see when he's talking to Bashir. But for him to be as desperate enough to turn that implant on nonstop, he must have been in a pretty dark place.
And now he has to be in that dark place still while basically dealing with withdrawal.
Yeah, so it's almost kind of a drug allegory, huh?
Yeah, and the only support system that he really has, I guess, would be Bashir.
Right, and they come to blows there too. That was a sad scene, when they their confrontation becomes physical. It's like, man, this guy's your only friend, Garak. I mean, cut the guy some slack. He's done nothing but try and help you.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful at times in this episode. I like it a lot.
And this plants the seed for stuff we'll see about Garak later on. And I think when you look back at Deep Space Nine, this is one of the a watershed Garak episodes. You can point to this and say, this is where this character took a turn, where we actually saw a little bit behind the facade, the happy face he puts on all the time. The whole, I'm a mysterious Cardassian guy. I'm just a plain, simple Garak. I'm just a tailor. But no, there's a lot more to him than that. I did make me laugh when, Bashir is investigating what's happening to Garak, and he goes to meet an Auvergne, and he like beams into his house. That's a little forward, right? I guess they didn't want to pay to have a set outside where he walks up to a house, but just to beam into someone's living room is pretty funny.
Oh my. Bashir is an odd duck sometimes.
But he got the job done. That's what's important. And luckily Garak is here for many seasons to come with us.
But what I really love about really what we're doing on From There to Here, going back and watching some of these early DS9 episodes, the first couple of seasons, you really see the seeds being planted for stuff that's happening later on in the series that you don't necessarily notice the first time around because you don't know to look for it. And that just, for me, shows that, the writers were thinking ahead. They were thinking long term with this story on DS9, which is something totally different from a lot of from Trek to this point. It was a different kind of storytelling they were getting into, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they're not setting stuff up for the sake of setting stuff up. They're telling good stories that have good elements to them that you can revisit later, and there's more payoff to it that way. It's something like you see all these in this day and age, movies and stuff. It feels like all these everybody's obsessed with cinematic universes, right? And everything is just one step towards the next thing, like part 1 of 13, right? Nothing's a self-contained whole. But with Deep Space Nine, you get these, The Wire, it's a standalone episode, really. You don't really need, much else before or after it. It works as its own story. It's a good story. It's a strong story. It can stand on its own. But it's just enriched by what had come before, and then especially what had come after. Like you said, you don't even realize that you're seeing this guy in Auvergne, the Obsidian Order. All this stuff is going to come into play in big ways down the road. Well, I think we've said all we need to say about The Wire. Are you ready to move on to the next one, Sue?
Let's do it. Let me get on that train.
Let's get on the Orient Express. Tickets, please. So in this episode, Emergence, Next Generation's Emergence, a series of puzzling events on and off the holodeck lead the crew of the Enterprise to a surprising conclusion. The ship is creating its own offspring. The crew has to assist with this arduous process to ensure the survival of the emerging life form and their own. So I'll just come on and say it. What the hell is this episode?
I like this episode.
Well, okay. Win me over. Why do you like this episode?
I'm a sucker for a holodeck story, especially a campy holodeck story. I like seeing the crew in weird situations, not sure what to do. Is everything perfect? Definitely not. But it's one that I think is fun. And they're exploring the idea of this emergent life form. Although, once again, the ship is creating life and nobody's all that concerned about it. But
on to our next diplomatic mission.
Yeah. It's a fun one for me.
Yeah, it is pretty zany. And part of that is probably because this is the only episode written by Brennan Braga and Joe Menosky together, and they're two of the most bizarre sci-fi off-the-wall writers in Star Trek, so it makes sense for a collaboration from them that this is on Next Generation is their only collaboration, but a collaboration from them would lead to such a zany concept of you get the Data performing a Tempest, and then him and Picard almost get killed by the Orient Express, and they get on it, and there's a knight doing paper mache, and it's just all kinds of absurdity.
Well, they clearly wanted to have one last holodeck episode before the end of the series, and apparently Braga said that he wanted to create, quote, the ultimate holodeck show.
Well, that is one way to look at it. If they want to do the ultimate holodeck show, they should have brought back characters from actual episodes of Next Generation. Let's see some Dixon Hill people in here. Let's get, I guess Sherlock Holmes, they've wrapped that up with Ship in the Bottle, but, I don't know, let's get Minuet in here. I don't know, people recognizable faces. That would have been fun. Nice who's who of people we've met on the holodeck in the past.
Yeah, I think at one time they were thinking of doing a final Dixon Hill adventure, but Braga, being Braga, wanted to take everything and smash it all into one holodeck at the same time.
Yeah, the guy that takes the brick and puts it in the wall to lay the foundation, he looked like he could have come from a Dixon Hill program, you know?
Right. Well, I also read that they didn't have to create any sets for this. They just used other sets on the Paramount lot. So that very well could have informed which holodeck programs were running at the time.
It's like, well, okay, we got a knight, we got a train conductor, we got a cowboy, whatever. And was a vertiform city. All stop to vertiform city. And then Worf is shoveling. I like how they got Worf shoveling coal, and the guy's like, "Yeah, put your back into it." It's like, of course, Worf is stuck with this stuff.
So ridiculous. But you'd think if the computer is the one making these decisions, the computer would be powerful enough to calculate for itself that the first dwarf star that it's going to is not going to have enough. What is it? Verdion radiation?
Yeah. Some technobabble radiation. Yes. That was so weird how they used the holodeck to interact with the emerging intelligence, and it's like an avatar for it. But they tried to tie in stuff that would happen on the holodeck, and then it would transfer into the real world on the Enterprise. But I don't know, I don't. This is one of those zany concepts that maybe when they were brainstorming it sounded like an awesome idea, but when you put pen to paper and start rolling film, I don't think it all really came together quite as amazing as they might have imagined in their head.
You know what would have made it more amazing? Lieutenant Barclay.
Oh yes, where's Barclay? We got the holodeck going crazy. Where is Barclay? We only got him in one episode in season 7. He would have been cool to be in this episode.
It seems like an obvious choice. Maybe he wasn't available.
Right. Hey, Dwight Schultz is a busy guy. He's got things to do, so he can't be in every episode.
I don't know. I realize I understand that it's off the wall and it is not necessarily the best constructed episode. I still enjoy it though. It's one that I can just, I don't know, put on and it's like television candy for me for a little while.
Well, it is harmless fun, right? I mean, it's not like offensive and stupid. It's just so what is going on here?
What is happening?
But
plus, Picard and Crusher flirt about trains.
Well, yeah, they know so much about the Orient Express. That was kind of weird. Like, oh, I didn't know you were in the train. Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, did you know that? It's just
it's adorable.
You know what? I guess for me, it's just Next Generation is winding down. This is the last. This is stretch run of this amazing show, and this is the second to last episode of the third to last episode of the entire show. This. That's why I was a little taken aback and disappointed by it. I expected something with more weight to it.
Shows didn't end then like they do now. There's no gangbusters, let's tell the rest of the story, because for TNG there was no really continual story. It didn't work that way. They were all standalone episodes, except for your occasional standalone two-parters. So there's no let's ramp this up and finish it strong. So, but I get what you're saying, especially now that we've gotten used to the way our TV is now, when TNG was so procedural.
Yeah, it's hard to look back and not look at it through the lens of modern television, but you can't do that, right? You got to judge the show on its own merits. But we get, I guess, so many other episodes this season had. I was making fun of the whole I've been making fun of the whole Star Trek: The Family Reunion thing, these recent From There to Here's. But at least they felt like there was stuff that mattered to the characters. This was look, this life form happens, it flies off. We're never going to meet it again. We only have 2 episodes left, right? So it's not going to have any long-term consequences for the crew. And like you said, yet another intelligence is created on the Enterprise D computer. It's like, come on, we got to study this thing. Got to bring it back to Earth. Let's figure out what is the secret of life is in the circuits of the Enterprise computer. We need to unlock that, right?
But TNG does these sort of thematic arcs, right? And this is sort of falling into that legacy theme, right? Where the ship is creating something and they don't know what it's going to do yet. But if it's, as Picard says, if it's based on our experiences and our logs and all of the good we've tried to do, we can believe that it's going to go out into the universe and do good. right? All of these stories towards the end of TNG are sort of about not only family but legacy and the future. And I don't know, it's maybe cheesy, but you can take chunks of TNG episodes and see that they're sort of grouped together by a basic theme. And I think this falls in line in that way.
That's a good point, Sue. You know, for the when I revisit this again for the 100th anniversary of Star Trek, I'll keep that in mind. Well,
it's going to take you another 50 years before you watch it again.
Look, there's a lot of episodes of Star Trek to watch. Right? This is not at the top of my rewatch list. That's all I'm going to say. So.
Oh, right.
All right. Well, I think we pretty much covered The Wire and Emergence today. Sue, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
You can hear me on Women at Warp. And on Twitter, you can find me at Spaltor. That's Spaltor.
As for me, personally, you can find me on Twitter at MooreOnZach. That's MooreOnZach. And I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always Hold On to Smallville, where we talk about each and every episode of That Young Superman TV show. We're on Twitter at AlwaysSmallville with one S. All right, well, Sue and I will be back tomorrow talking about crossover and preemptive strike. Talk to you then.